welcome out. Here we are again. Another list in our continuing list of lists. We're going to actually step outside of college at this point. Remember now, this is material that's mostly about college, the 4 college years. But we also have some material that I've already done, pre-college years. And we're kind of at the halfway point. We've gotten ourselves to about a little more than a halfway point, maybe about 2/3, because we're moving into junior year, senior year, and there will be some lists, and this is one of them, about the postgraduate years, okay? So preparing for those postgraduate years. This is the top 10 workplace skills every grad needs. Uh, most of your higher education focuses on the content of your classes, but those soft skills are equally important. Those skills that are often picked up on the job or not, worst case scenario. So to get you off on the right foot when you're out job shopping, make sure to have the following thoroughly in place to ensure greater productivity. All right. Number one is communication skills, and that's kind of an overused term. That's a very generic, general term. What does that mean, right? You've heard it over and over, time and time again. But contrary to popular belief, it's more about listening than speaking. It all begins with listening. You may have heard that unusual perspective on communication, but there it is again, very important. How can you get across to people any message unless you know what it is the person is asking for? Knows or doesn't know what the person knows or doesn't know that you're trying to communicate to. So asking questions, specific, clear, topic-specific questions is essential to communication. Then there's getting the point across in a similar manner, clear, concise, accurate, specific. Taking a course in basic communication skills is essential, but sadly not commonly required of graduates. So best do this learning on your own. It's priceless. Most sadly, and this is why education in general, I was going to say higher education, but education in general is dysfunctional. Dysfunctional at best, sad to say. Most employers are not happy with the product coming out of higher education. They had mentioned over the years, time again, that most college grads are lacking in basic skills, knowledge, and attitudes. Okay, so if you're already in college or maybe out of college and listening to this, you're a little in arrears. You're a little behind the 8 ball. But better late than never. All right. I mean, as long as you're not, at retirement age, there's still time. There's still time for learning. Number 2, problem solving. Very simple, straightforward term. Yet to be a solid problem solver takes a lot of time, practice, and experience. And again, this is something that we'll pick up on the job in the workforce. Good word, force, because you'll be forced to do it if you're not a good problem solver. And why else would you work for somebody? Everybody who works for somebody is solving a problem. I've got a problem. I need someone to answer the phones. I've got a problem. I need someone to empty the trash. I've got a problem. I need somebody who can clean up. I need somebody who can write programs. I need somebody who can manage people. I need somebody who can lead the company, right? So there's always a problem. You are a solution as an employee, right? You are generally a solution to that or a problem or problems, right? Think about it that way. That's a great way to think about it, right? It's always about perspective, putting it into the proper perspective, right? Like in communications, a good problem solver is clear, concise, accurate, specific. Some good courses that will help you with this skill are critical thinking, logic, argumentation, and other classes that entail being a solid, rational, and reasoning thinker. But once you've taken those classes, the best thing to do is practice, practice, practice until the skill becomes second nature. How do you do that? Let me tell you. Well, personally, I've developed this skill over time during my leisure time, during work time, during off hours in the community, while vacationing or taking downtime. Even watching YouTube videos, I'll use my problem solving or critical thinking, rational thinking skills. And it's nothing more than asking questions, proper questions, right? Um, for instance, I watch a video and you see these videos on the internet all the time. Might be a 5, 10 second video. And people will watch that video knowing nothing about the person or people that they're viewing and come up with some type of summation, a complete and thorough summation as to the person's character, intent, what has happened before and what will happen after, and so forth and so on, right? People love to get involved in other people's stuff. I was going to say something else there, but, right? And everybody's got a criticism and everybody's got a solution. But the funny thing is that those videos have come and gone, and what has happened in that video is probably years old, if not decades old sometimes, right? And the people are not, most likely, the people that are in the videos a lot of times don't even know about the video or see it or read the comments, right? So what you're saying is really for your own good, for your own benefit, to make yourself feel better, or maybe to flex your look at I'm a wholesome thinker. I'm thinking right, right? That type of flex, right? I'm a good wholesome thinker. I'm a good critical thinker. I'm a concerned parent, citizen, whatever, fill in the blank, right? But oftentimes we are so wrong, so dead wrong, right? And you see a video. The problem is with those very short videos, we assume, and you know what assume is, to make an ass out of you and me, right? We assume way too much, way too much. And, you know, we see somebody do something or look in a certain way, and we project onto them our feelings or what is in our head. Oh, you can see right here that so-and-so is upset. And it might even be just a snapshot, right? Somebody caught in the moment. And you know, they could be going through all types of faces as they're uh in this video, right? All types of expressions. And maybe they're, you know, going like this at one point, and it's the sun's in their eyes, and they're going like that, and they go, oh, you can see that this person is very upset at what's going on, you know. And then the sun's out of their eyes, and they're back to smiling as they were through most of the video, right? So I mean, it's really people are terrible, 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 just terrible. I think of Charles Barkley, terrible, terrible, terrible thinkers, analyzers. It's just it's the worst. I don't know, you know, it's a total indictment. Well, not a total, but a good portional indictment of education that we don't teach people to think critically, to think rationally, to ask questions, right? You know, so do we know what happened before? We see the reaction of one person, but we don't know what the other person was doing before the camera started to roll, right? Or record. And we interpret, basically, project onto them, onto those people based on what we see, how they're dressed, their expressions, where they're living, what they're saying, how they're interacting, blah, blah, blah. It's so much subjective projection onto them, right? What's in us. And that's why you get people who differ on opinion. Yeah. So, you know, being a good problem solver and a good thinker, and again, that's another skill that employers say that most graduates really lack, a good critical thinking skill. And critical thinking is going deeper, all right? It's going beyond the surface, mere surface perception of what's going on to the deeper meaning or possible meanings. I don't know, 99.9% of the time when I'm on the internet like you, I don't know the people in the video. So we really can't say anything. We should say very much. We should say very, very little. Next to nothing. That's why a lot of times I don't even comment. I look at it and I go, well, I don't know. I don't know these people. I don't know why they're interacting like that. I didn't see what happened before. I haven't seen what has happened in their life over a period of days, weeks, months, years. All I see is this short little snippet, you know, sometimes less than a minute or just a few minutes, right, of a video. And what can you know about people? You know, and I worked in Hollywood. I was in the entertainment industry for some time. And you'll find out that the people that appear, the people or the what people perceive as someone who's on camera, they perceive them to be a certain way, but off camera, I don't want to say oftentimes, but a good amount of times, those people are not really who they appear to be on camera. And I'm thinking of what's her name, Lively, and her husband. Now people, geez, I can't think of his name. I'm terrible with trying to remember actors' names. But Lively and her husband, Deadpool, whatever his name is, I can't think of his name. Everybody loved them and they're great people. And, then some controversy arises and everybody just immediately jumps on the bandwagon and they all assume that they know what happened. Were you there? Do you know what happened? Do you know anything about the individuals involved as regards their personal lives and their personal interactions and how they really are in their personal lives? Because a public life is oftentimes very different from a personal life. And I saw, who was it, Bill Maher, you know who that is? And I guess he was invited to the White House and he spoke to Trump. And he says, I was just I was amazed. This guy seemed to be very chill, down, very, very responsive and kind and friendly and blah, blah, blah. So what's your there's a public persona. And if you're being attacked all the time, you're not going to be acting very loving and friendly. But there's a public persona, and then there is a lesser known out of the public eye persona, I guess we could say, right? So you really got to be good critical thinker. And the best critical thinkers are good problem solvers because they're looking at things logically, rationally. They're trying to hover above the fray, not emotionally attached. I know that's difficult to do. We're humans, we're human emotion-based beings, right? It's difficult to be rational or to be an automaton or a robot and rational and logical in our thinking all the time. But you gotta hover above the fray and try not to get too emotional, or too attached to the group. Are you a Republican or a Democrat? Are you a conservative or a liberal? Are you young or old? Are you hip or not hip? Whatever the group divisions are, right? And we are a group think people. We have a tendency to seek out the group because we as individuals, it's scary to be alone. There's no power in one, but there is power in groups. And if you attach yourself to a group, and a lot of people like to attach themselves to groups, and there's certainly some positive aspects or elements or benefits to the group for sure. We can get into that group, we can help each other, we can encourage each other, we can do the positive things. But also there's the negative side of groups and group things, right? So you got to know this stuff. This is the stuff you got to know. I mean, if you're going to be a very active, present, productive, useful thinker, employee, employer, citizen, family member, right? Whatever the label may be, then you got to be a good thinker. You really have to be a good thinker. This is not just something, oh, I'll do this and pick it up as a hobby and use it on occasion. No, this can be used 24/7, 365. All right. These skills, I should say. Adaptability, there's another one. This is a two-tier element. First one must be adaptable to the specific work environment, as in what is the general climate, culture, and mores of your place of employ. Then there is adaptability from one career to the next. First, you're working as a programmer, then in management, education, career advisor. Sounds like someone I know. That would be me. Today's worker will have 5 up to 10 career changes, right? So best be ready to adapt. In this sense, you become modular, right? As you unplug yourself, plug yourself in, plug yourself in and unplug from one job to the next, career to the next, right? And that's what technology affords us. Because of technology and the access to data and information and seeing and change, Uh, it functions. Things are really sped up. Things move much more quickly than they ever used to. Previous probably to the mid 90s, right, when the internet came about and information was shared very rapidly, very expansively. All right. So let's go back a little bit. In this sense, you become modular as you plug into one job to the next, workplace to the next, career to the next, learning new skills and knowledge while unplugging and plugging into new environs with your skills and attitudes. And what does that mean? Well, it means short list here. There's many more here, but it could mean things like punctuality, working well with others, communications, doing more than you're asked to do. Kind of the Napoleon Hill law of success list of things, right? That's another good. I had that group of videos on my YouTube channel, Napoleon Hill. Good stuff to know about. Negotiating. When one hears the term negotiating, oftentimes one thinks of a B2B situation where two businesses hash out terms over takeover and merger. But this skill is much broader than that. It can be between two co-workers, boss and a subordinate, mid and upper management, CEO and CEO, so forth, right? So from the smallest scenario to the mid-size to largest scenario. Bottom line, it's a strategic discussion aimed at resolving issues between two or more parties. It involves a conflict resolution process where the parties seek to reach an agreement that is acceptable to all involved, often striving for a win-win situation. It entails planning, good communication skills, and understanding of the interest and motivation of all parties, right? So you'll notice that there's certain terms that you keep hearing, that keep popping up. We've heard communication skills pop up, problem solving, that will pop up, critical thinking, rational thinking, logical thinking, so there are a list of things, skills and their labels that you need to know and learn them and practice them. It's all about the practice. And really looking at what it is that you're discussing or analyzing, and using your critical thinking, going deep. Don't be lazy. Don't be biased in your thinking, overly biased in your thinking, right? Go with too much groupthink, right? It's funny that the left talks about the right and the right, the left, and they say the same things. You people are all the same. Right saying to left, left saying to right. You people are all the same. You just mindlessly listen to your news sources and all that gaslighting, and you just believe these lies and misinformation. And each party is saying the exact same thing about the other party, right? So it's really critical thinking tells me that's why I hate politics. I understand. I know a lot about politics and I follow it frequently because I understand it's the very water in which we swim, right? We live in a very political, monetary-oriented world. At least if you live in the United States, we're working within free markets, right? So it's the very water in which you swim. Some people say, I don't like politics. Too bad, right? We have politics, all it surrounds us. We breathe politics. It's constantly around us. And now with social media, it's way more prevalent, much more than probably we desire. But we have political activities or political movements at the local level, at the state level, at the federal level, national, international level, right? And what policies are adhered to, or whether or not the laws, Constitution are followed or not followed, or whether certain economic principles are followed and not followed, and so forth and so on. It really does affect us. Some people have said it doesn't matter who's president, no big deal. Well, it does matter, and it matters greatly. And if you look at really what's going on, you'll see that that's true. I don't have to try to convince you. It's just obvious facts, right? Leadership, again, people often misinterpret this term. It can certainly be about a general rallying the troops, a CEO getting hundreds of employees through tough times, or a coach getting players mentally prepared via halftime adjustments. But at the same time, we are all leaders because people are watching us, often looking to anyone, someone for help and guidance. It could be siblings, sibling to sibling, coworker to coworker, classmate to classmate, from the smallest to mid-range to greatest level, right? Um, so I mean, even if you're just at home and you have siblings, you got a couple brothers and sisters, uh, they're looking at you, they're watching you. Or if you have kids, I mean, I see how I was with my dad. I was almost a carbon copy of the things, his opinions, and the things that he liked and did and focused on. And my son does the exact same thing. He likes all the team baseballs or sports teams that I like, right? And he kind of has similar political leanings and so forth and so on. And that's okay, but eventually everybody has to come to their own determination about who they are and what their opinions are and what is important to them, what they believe and don't believe, and so forth and so on. Number six, empathy. You probably never thought of empathy as an important workplace skill. Yet, since we are always working with others and others are humans, contrary to popular belief, with feelings and passions, it is an essential consideration. Even bosses have to have empathy. Again, we usually think of a boss as a cold-hearted, practical, rational sort with little in the way of sympathetic feelings. Yet empathy is simply the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. It involves taking on another person's perspective and vicariously experiencing their emotions and thoughts. This is an essential communication skill and is essential to master. All right. I mean, how can you be the great communicator if you're not sympathetic to understanding people and seeing how they feel about things? What's in their heart, what's in their mind's eye, what's their focus, what's their perspective on things, what's happening. If you're in marketing, that's a huge concern. How people how they think, what are their fears, what are their interests, what are their leanings, and so forth and so on. You really got to know psychologically. Marketing, advertising also has a lot to do with psychology. And some of that psychology is not on the most up and up. Some of it is kind of manipulation. Like I heard that marketing isn't so much finding out what people want, but making them fearful of the things that they don't have and manufacturing need. How about that one? Manufacturing need. So it's not so much about what you want, but finding out what people are really afraid of, right? And making these people, that's why you always see advertisers talking about, they're kind of like they put the fear in you, when was the last time that you experienced this and it didn't quite work out? It's a very frightening, cold experience, a very lonely experience. Do you want that to happen again? Of course not. Buy our product service, right? That type of thing. Anyways, moving on. Creativity. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. That's Einstein, right? So Einstein said, without imagination, there would be no knowledge. And I thought that when I first heard that, oh, what are you talking about? Well, you know, imagining a lot of what has occurred over time, historically and otherwise, comes from imaginings. Imagine, this is the Europeans, imagine if we lived in a country where we were not controlled by a dictator and, it was for the people and by the people. Imagine that. And that was imagined. And now that imagined thing has become to a great degree a reality, the United States, right, with the Constitution, which is a focus on the people, of the people, for the people, by the people. The people are sovereign, right? We are the kings and queens, not the kings and queens. And we say what goes. You hear those people say about politicians, you work for us. We don't work for you. We're in charge. We're large and in charge, right? Also, like a town or city or maybe a business. I think, who was it? Oh, the guy again, I'm forgetting names here. Um, uh, certain people create these companies. They always have a uh, an image of something. They have something in mind. Why are you getting into such and such a business, right? Uh, you know, because I imagine that I can put a ding in the universe. I can make a little bit of difference, make a little bit of change. I can help people. I can do this and that and whatnot, right? So there's always that imagining before the reality. Everything in existence was created in the mind and then made manifest. Nation states, cities, towns, entertainment entities, technology, architecture, fashion, music, literature, so forth. Creativity is nothing more than the ability to bring into existence something new, a solution to a problem. That should sound familiar, right? You are a solution to a problem. We need to hire someone. We need somebody to answer phones. You're the solution to the problem. We need a new lawyer. You're the solution to the problem. We need a programmer. You're the solution to the problem. Right? Solution to a problem, a method, or an artistic object. It is the formation of novel and valuable ideas using one imagination, resulting in both tangible products, like inventions or artwork, or intangible ones, like theories or jokes, right? So generally, and creativity also is coming up. It's usually looking to where no one has not looked before. And it's a solution that doesn't really sometimes even follow a logical, rational, pre-existing thought or a thought process or pattern. It just kind of leaps out of, like a eureka, eureka, gravity, right? What was that, Newton, the story, well, didn't actually happen, but the story of the apple falling in his head. And he's like, oh, gravity. But anyways, kind of like that along those lines, right? Creativity. So it's something new. It's a solution to a problem. It's something that has usually come, not, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but kind of appears kind of to come out of nowhere, but I'm sure it existed in your thoughts or your I don't want to say irrational thoughts, but your subconscious for some time, or maybe you forgot about it. It just kind of boils up, and there it is, right? So creativity is very important, and creativity is used. People often, again, and there's another term that is kind of misinterpreted. Creativity are people like dancers and poets and writers and musicians and so forth. Um, Even in the sciences, Einstein was very creative, right? Theory of relativity, quantum theory, and so forth. Um, it's making connections or leaps of logic that appear relatively out of nowhere, so to speak. And it's solutions. You might have, at your place of work, we've got a problem with our production line. At times it slows down to a crawl, and we need to fix that. Doesn't happen too often, maybe 15% of the time. But why does that happen? We need to fix it. And if you can create a solution, there you go, right? That would be great. And you'll probably get a bonus or promoted, right? So creativity, very important. Self-regulation. America, America, God mend thine every flaw. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty and law. Right? You know that song? Pilgrim's Feet and all that good stuff. So, right, and I remember seeing that, right? Confirm thy soul in self-control. Self-control is critical for everyone. If you don't have self-control, there's little, or self-regulation, there's little that you can accomplish, right? Because our natural tendency is to not do something or to stay inert. Like the alarm goes off in the morning. Usually the only thing that really gets us out of bed is just abject fear. I gotta get going. If I don't go to work, I don't have money. I'm gonna be out on the streets. So that's a factor as well. But if we really had our way, many of the times we would just hit the snooze button, go back to sleep, or go to the gym. Everybody doesn't look like an Adonis or a major weightlifting hero or athlete because it's other, time constraints too, but it's difficult to get up and go to the gym all the time and be that disciplined, right? Day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, and so forth. So self-control, very important in getting things done. Getting through 4 years of college requires a lot of self-control. Without self-control or regulation, nothing would get done and chaos would reign. Control behavior and manage thoughts and emotion. Keep negative emotions in check and think before reacting. Regulate one's behavior based on internal standards, goals, and values. Control thoughts, emotions, impulses, aptitudes. I'll be right. Appetites or task performance. Understand and manage behavior and reactions to feelings and external events. Finally, number 9, teamwork. Much of what has been spoken to above can be applied to teamwork and the joining of forces of the many to protect and guide the few. Teamwork is nothing more than self-regulation. There it is. That's up there. Right? Communication. We talked about that. That's up there too. Creativity and so forth. And creativity is up there. On a large scale en masse. All right. So that's just kind of get you, that's kind of like a starting point. Again, I talk about these lists. These lists are oftentimes incomplete. And if I really wanted to go into these things in the most minute detail or treat them as they should be treated, then each one of these, all 9 of these elements, I'd probably have to go into, and each one I could spend an hour, if not hours, talking about, each one. So anyways, it's just a start, get your head around these things, see what you can do to, start looking into these elements of the workplace, workplace skills, and, get going on your own. There's another highly successful people are self-controlled and self-initiated, so initiate. Anyways, that's it for now. So until our next list, take care.